Our guest this week spoke to me from a small hut on a tiny motu off Ruapuke Island in Fovo Strait. He's there to harvest muttonbird or tītī, a migratory bird also known as the sooty shearwater, which come to the many islands around here to nest.
Kia ora, I'm Daniel Tarrant, a local southern boy down here in the deep south of Bluff and reside between Ruapuke Island and the mainland. I'm the fifth great-grandson of the last chief of Ruapuke Island. The Rakiura Māori have been harvesting the tītī for nearly half a millennia, so for 500 years. And our tinkana is all about sustaining practice and passing down that knowledge, and it's predominantly our food source over the winter and those colder months, especially back when they were harvesting them back in the early days. It was more for trade and barter with other tribes throughout New Zealand.
And nowadays, the purpose of it?
The focus for me is to teach the next generation and just purely a food source. We're not a very big island. We're very small in comparison to a lot of the islands throughout Stewart Island, so it is only a food source for us. It's purely just to give to our friends and whānau.
And this is something that you do every year, Dan. Tell us a little bit about the setup for the whole operation and how long the harvest lasts.
We usually come around 18th of April to the 18th of May. So we're here for a month. We're only here for the rama or the torching season. So we don't now, which is putting your hands in the hole during the daylight. We just don't feel that this island is sustainable to be able to harvest the birds like that.
Okay, so there's two different ways traditionally that it was done. As you say, the nanau, where people would reach into the burrows underground, and then the rama, which is the late night harvest. And how do you actually do that?
So we run around in the dark with torches and we spotlight them with our hands.
Is that
it's
tricky?
all done by hand. Everything is done by hand, so yeah.
So they're on the ground?
They are on the ground. They're not quite ready to fly yet, so they're getting ready for their major migration. So the tītī are one of the largest migrating birds in the world, and they come down to these southern islands to nest in around October, and incubation stage is about 55 days, and then they start growing, and then we come down and harvest them in April. So we predominantly bird in the stormy, overcast, rainy nights, and we start around 8 o'clock at night, and we could potentially bird right through to daylight the next day, depending on how we're going.
Now, is it true that each bird only lays one egg?
That's correct. The bird will hatch, the mother will come and continue to feed the chick until the mothers have just left, and then it's up to the chick to get itself ready for its migration north.
Interesting that you have adapted your tikanga, your traditions and your practices around the sustainability. I guess this has been something that's been going on through the generations, this adaptation, is that right?
Yes, that's correct. And we also only pluck by hand. So instead of just being out there all night killing and harvesting the tītī and then coming back and using a machine, our best practice is what we can actually work with our hands is what we can harvest.
So you do all the processing on site? On
site, that's correct, yep. So we'll go out and torch, say, for about an hour. For myself personally, if I have 40 birds, I will go back and pluck those birds by hand. Weather dependent, obviously, if you go out again, as if it's raining, because if the moon's out, the birds they'll stay in their burrows. And then we'll wait for the waxing and de-waxing the next day. And then we'll leave them hang and set for another day and then process and pack on the third day.
And this waxing and de-waxing, what's that all about?
So that's to get all the little bits of down and feathers to get the skin nice and clean, so when we go to eat them, we're not chewing on feathers, to be fair.
No, that wouldn't be nice.
It wouldn't be nice, no.
Now, the family's involved in all this, aren't they? Kids as well.
My family are a big part of it. I had all the kids here, mukapuna, the whole lot, and they jumped off on Anzac Day, so they had the very start of the torching season, and we were just purely focusing on teaching them, the traditions and how we do it and why we do it. This has been handed down for generations, so for us it's really important that we keep it going, because once it's lost forever. At the moment, it's just myself and my nephew down here, so he's pretty much doing his rite of passage. He's 12 years old, so he's been here for a month now with me, and yeah, he's going really well.
And the pluck house, as you call it, this is a place where good kōrero takes place, where the traditions are handed down.
Everybody hates plucking birds by hand, but it's the place where everyone talks, and we talk about the stories of the past that were handed down to us from my power and his power and further on down the track. So, a lot of history and stories are told in the pluck house. That's correct.
When do you get to eat the mutton bird? Are they preserved for the whole year? Is it just a family feast that they're reserved for?
For us, it's a staple. We will eat tītī once or twice a week, but for a lot of other whānau, it is one of those prized possessions. It's a taonga of celebration when you bring it out into celebrate for 21st weddings, big birthdays or tangis or whatever it may be.
Yeah, because they are classified as a vulnerable species. People will be wondering, is this practice sustainable in this day and age?
This practice absolutely is sustainable in this day and age, especially the way we harvest and process our birds. Majority of the birds will come off, and we will only work what we can kill. So there'd be times at night where we're walking past birds that will get away and free just purely because we're not out to wreck the island and to devastate the tītī. It's about passing on our heritage, our genealogy. It's a part of who we are.
And how many would you be catching this season? What sort of percentage of the birds that are nesting on island?
Maybe. We might get 1,000 birds. Might. Some of the big islands will do that in 3 nights. In the scheme of things, we're very, very small, and there'll be thousands of birds that will come off this island as there's thousands of burrows. And once all the birds are gone, our last practice is we go through the whole island, clearing out all the holes. So when the mothers arrive again in October, everything's clear and ready for them to go. So we're preparing them. We're doing our utmost with pest control. So we're a pest-free island. So we've been pest-free for about 9 years now. So we keep up with bait stations and making sure that we're giving the tītī as much of a chance as possible, to be fair. It's the pests that have the biggest damage through some of those islands.
And just finally, Dan, what's your best recipe for tītī?
While I'm on the island, my favourite way is just to have a boiled fresh bird with tomato relish on toast for breakfast, bit of salt, that's it. That's all we need.
Sounds delicious. I actually have tried tītī and really loved it, but I've heard people have had different experiences. It's a pretty strong taste.
Well, the preserved birds are a very strong taste. The birds that we're harvesting that haven't been put into a brine are actually a lot more mild and delicate. So the more we get that story out there, the less birds we have to harvest. If we're doing true sustainability and we're making the most of the entire bird, it's a better practice indeed.
I was speaking there to Daniel Tarrant. There are heaps of photos of the island, the Tarrant whānau at work, and the harvested catch on our webpage, rnz.co.nz/countrylife.